Hey there, and welcome to another episode of the Red Ink Writers podcast. Today is a very special episode because we have a very special guest. But before we get started, my name is Sandy Butchers. I'm the author and illustrator of the Singularity Grimoire anthologies.
And I'm Lydia Stevens. I am the author of the Hellfire series, the Ginger Davenport Escapades, and I am the acquisitions editor of Urano Publishing USA.
And today we have with us Stefanie Contreras, and I really hope that I pronounced this the right way.
You did a great job.
Awesome, thanks. So, that's a Latino name, or is it Spanish, or where are you from?
Yes, well, I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, but my family originally migrated from Mexico. So
awesome, yeah, wow. So, all right, I'm gonna dive straight in. Like we talked about this a moment earlier. We were digging through your Amazon author page and your Goodreads, and we saw these smashing covers for 3 books. They are called The Merry Maids, they are called Peacefinder, and Starkiller. Now, I want to talk about these books because, first of all, they look gorgeous, and they are part of a trilogy, I think. So, does this trilogy have a name of its own? Is it like? Well, can you talk us a little bit, up about this?
Sure. Yeah, I did just call it the Merry Maids trilogy. When I was writing it, I thought I was writing a standalone, and somehow I realized this is actually turning into a trilogy. So go figure, it became the Merry Maids trilogy.
Wow. Yeah, this is kind of how this works, right? You start a book and all of a sudden you have a franchise in your hands. You're like, what happening? Wow. Yeah. So how long did it take you to write this? Because obviously this isn't something you've done in like a month or something. This is a long time of work.
It is. The first one, because I realized it was turning into a trilogy, I think the first one, it was a labor of love over a few years, but I had already sort of written into book 2, and I realized there was a good place to stop for book 1. So book 2, I think, took me less time. It was several months to complete that one, and then a little bit under a year to complete book 3.
Wow. Yeah, that's a pretty long process.
Can you give us a basic rundown of the synopsis for the trilogy so that listeners can have an idea of what it is that you're writing?
Absolutely. So The Merry Maids is a sci-fi story, but it's more of what I would call an adventure story. It follows someone who is just graduating from her training in the academy, and she's taking her very first shipboard assignment. So her skills and what she was learning at the academy involved her abilities in movement and telekinesis. Wow. And she was handpicked to join a small crew of a ship that became 5 people, including her. And essentially they're sort of like a behind the scenes Black Ops crew. They have an assignment where they need to find the pieces of the Starkiller. And so it's essentially like a intergalactic scavenger hunt that she goes on. And during the process, she's learning about her skills. She's learning where she fits in the world. And it is also a found family story. So, the relationship that she develops with the other people on the crew is really sort of the foundation for the trilogy.
Wow. So, I don't know if you can see this, but I have like twinkles in my eyes now. I mean, you were really, this is, I'm surprised this is, well, I don't know, it sounds maybe a bit weird, but this is some hard sci-fi that you're throwing at us. And when I look at you, I'm not really seeing hard sci-fi. So this is a very cool surprise here, actually. So, tell me, sci-fi, how did you get there?
Well, I am a diehard fan of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and I was one of those weird kids that just sort of discovered it on TV one night. And back when it was airing in the 90s, I was supposed to go to bed, I think, at 9 p.m. Like that was my mandated bedtime. And that's what time it aired on TV. So I would like purposefully defy bedtime just to watch new episodes of The Next Generation.
Perfect.
The captain in my story is sort of like lovingly inspired by Captain Janeway. So anybody that loves the Voyager series might appreciate that. And also, I think when I first watched Star Wars, I had this sort of like deep connection to it where it was almost like I felt like I had seen that movie before, even though it was the first time. I just connected with it so much. So that's why sci-fi has been so close to me.
I love that. I 100% love that.
So I want to kind of backstep a little bit. When you said, she has to find the missing pieces of the Starkiller, should we be taking that in a literal sense? Like, she's, these stars are dead, or tell us a little bit more about that piece. That was what really grabbed my attention. I was like, oh, what's that?
So the Starkiller piece, as you read through the series, you meet basically a friend of her captain's. He also, same thing, was part of a space mission where they discovered a planet that was creating and operating a device on site called the Starkiller. And so the first time he saw it in action, it literally destroyed a star. And what they did was, instead of turning it over to the Order, which is their government organization, they realized how dangerous it was and decided to dismantle it and hide its pieces so that no one would try to use it. And so when it comes time for her crew to discover it, the Order wants to find these pieces. And so she's sort of torn because their crew, they understand the reasons why it was hidden, but they also have been mandated to find it. So
okay.
Wow. I'm getting Death Star vibes here. In a very good way, by the way.
Is there plans to continue this series, or do you have other books in the works, other projects? Tell us a little bit about, what's next for you.
I am currently working on something different, not related. In the future, I could see a world where the main character, Olivia Tippin, she's much more seasoned. She's much more badass. She's more comfortable with her role on her team. And, maybe we pick up where she has more to say about what is happening with the Starkiller later. But she needs that time right now to develop and grow. So in the meantime, I'm writing other stories. I'm currently working on a modern day Latinx superhero origin story.
Sweet.
Ooh, very cool. Yes.
And in the Merry Maids, there's a brief mention of one of the shipmates' favorite bands. So I always have in the back of my head, I'd like to write maybe a standalone of the band and their story, but we'll see what happens.
It's cool when you have something on your hands that allows for so many spin-off stories. Like there is this really diehard core of what you're doing, and then there's stuff going all. I don't know. I just love it when that stuff happens. So, linking to that, are you a pantser or are you a plotter? Because I sense a pantser, but something this big could also very well end up in someone being a plotter. Tell us.
I am 99% pantser.
Yes.
I have some semblance of plotting plans that rarely come to fruition. So
Right.
if anybody asks me tips for how to be a planner, it would be devastating. I should not be the person that tells you how to do that.
Like, not having a plan is also having a plan, right?
Do you find though that you have a plan in terms of when you write or how long you write or something, or do you just as the inspiration comes, you sit and you write as it happens, or do you try to write?
Yeah, I try to do writing every day. That's always my goal. I am not able to function without coffee, and so anything before 10 a.m. is non-existent for me. I'm not a morning writer. I tend to write in the evening after work, and I'll try to focus on it for minimum an hour, but 2 hours is always a good plan for me. So that's about where I stand. And the part where I focus on writing every day, that is typically, I try to do it in order. So each chapter unfolds in order. I try not to skip ahead too much, although in the back of my mind, I have a general idea of where it's going to go, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's always how it happens, right?
Yeah. So do you know the ending of a book when you start writing, or is it, like you said, is it a general guideline? Nothing is, carved in stone, or?
I see it as a scene. So I kind of have the end scenes in mind visually, and what necessarily happens in those scenes isn't completely planned out, and how we're going to get there is a mystery
That's
to you,
obviously
Annie.
a surprise for yourself as well, probably.
And do you, apart from Amazon, which was where we were, spying on your books and the covers and things like that, where can people find you? They can obviously get your books on Amazon, but is there, are they strictly on Amazon? Do you have a website, or, promote yourself? Where can people find you?
I do have a website. It is latinageekgirl.com, and it links to not only the book pages on Amazon, but also some of the other things that I work on, like my podcast. My books are only available currently on Amazon. So they're available paperback, Kindle, and Kindle Unlimited.
Awesome. Hey, I got one more thing that I really want to talk about, because just before we hit the record button, you talked a little bit about your role for Ride Hive. Now, obviously, we are sponsors for Ride Hive, so let's put them in a little bit of sunshine as well. What's your role with Ride Hive? How do you know them?
Actually, I found out about Right Hive through a friend of mine who is a founding member and a member of the board of Right Hive.
All right.
And they mentioned that there was a conference coming up, which was last year. So I sat in on the conference and I volunteered as a panel moderator. So I was able to meet some of the community and I really liked it.
Yes.
After the conference, decided I really wanted to get more involved because I really appreciate Right Hive's mission to help the marginalized writing community.
Yes.
And so after last year's conference, I came on as the person who now does the marketing for Right Hive. So I've been volunteering with them in that capacity as well.
Yeah, they really are an amazing community, and it's also one of the reasons like we decided to get involved with them, and to sort of get something up there, because like you said, they really are sort of fighting for diverse voices, among writers, and that's something to be really supportive about. So it's actually really cool to meet a fellow Right Hiver.
Right Hiver, part of the Hive.
Yeah, exactly. Buzz.
I was gonna ask one more question, Sandy. Is there anything else that you want us to know about you, your writing, your books, your marketing? Everybody wants to know about marketing.
Oh, yeah.
Anything like that? I mean, this is consider this like open mic night right now. Anything you want, our subscribers to know.
I would say that as far as the works that I've put in place, like I mentioned, my website, Latina Geek Girl, I am a self-described geek girl. So you can find me at our Phoenix Fan Fusion, which is our local Comic-Con. We also have a Geek Girl Brunch meetup group that you can find internationally. And I also am one half of the Pop Culture Junkies podcast, which is a female-run geeky podcast where we literally just geek out about things that we're excited about in books, movies, TV, and general pop culture. All of those geeky vibes, I think you can see influences of that in my work. So if that is something that interests you, hopefully you'll like the books that I've written. And later this year in 2022, I'll have a story in the Autumn Nights anthology, which will also be a Latinx-based Dia de los Muertos story, which should be fun. And then, like I mentioned, my Latinx superhero origin story should also be completed this year. So a few things to look forward to.
Yeah, you are a busy woman.
Yes, please do send us the links to all of those so that we can help promote them as well, along with this episode, please.
Yeah, I would love to.
We'll make sure to put all the links in the description down below, by the way, as well. So, everybody just go and click those links. It's going to be a blast to look at. All right, Stefanie, it was an absolute delight meeting you and talking about your work. I really, really like this encounter. So thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.